Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Tea and Talk. I'm your host Abir Safa and with me today is Fatima Khoja. She's gone through a whirlwind of experiences. This is her story of loss, discouragement and success. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister.
Thank you for joining us. I know that you commuted such a long way to get here and be present here for the interview. Like I just mentioned right now, you've gone through so many different experiences. Can you just tell us a little bit about you and your experience with being diagnosed with epilepsy and how that affected you and your health?
Yes. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was very young, in the infancy, and it's something that runs in the family. But alhamdulillah, my epilepsy right now, it's under control.
Alhamdulillah.
However, earlier when I was younger, I used to have a lot of big fits, and it means that you kind of black out and you stop what you're doing and you're not aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So this used to happen to me many times when I was younger when I was younger.
Did they ever tell you what it was caused from, or was it just because it ran in the family?
Well, it's because it ran in the family. My dad is affected, both my sisters, and then there's my uncle. So it's something that goes in the family. Yeah.
Were they able to diagnose you right away and give you medicine to help control it, or was it something that they didn't know what it was and it was kind of a struggle to know?
They knew it from before, and they gave the medicine, and it helped eventually. And alhamdulillah, today it's all under control now.
Alhamdulillah. You mentioned that both of your two sisters had it, Shazia and Sumaya, correct?
Yes.
Unfortunately, they did pass away. Can you just describe how they passed away and how much that affected you? Because I'm sure it must have.
Yeah. Shazia was very young. Well, both my sisters passed away at a very young age. Shazia, she was 4 years old when she passed away of meningitis, and she died within 12 hours of it. And then
of being diagnosed with meningitis?
Yeah, so it was quite sudden. Yeah, and then Sumaya, she had many problems from beforehand. She died 19 days after her second birthday, and we knew she wouldn't live long because she had many problems. Like she had a very weak neck, and her head was. You have to be careful when you hold it extra because her brain was full of fluid, and it made her head more heavier, because of that. And she was tube fed. She was blind in one eye, and she had a lot of problems from before. And I've only heard her smile or cry, so I never got to hear her say anything.
Yeah. So how was your relationship with them?
With Shazia and Sumaya, I both shared a very good relationship. Shazia and me, we used to do things together. Like we used to play together. We would wear the similar clothes. Because I was very young when she passed away as well. This is another thing. She died many years ago. You're talking 1993. So we used to do things together like that, and I hear she was very protective of me as well. So there's only so much I can remember, but from what I do, we were very close.
From what you're describing now, it seems like you just said, that you had a very close relationship and a really special and unique bond. How was it, because you were so young, how was it when you lost her and going through that? Was it something that you were able to comprehend?
At that time, it wasn't something that much I was able to comprehend because I was still very young. But I remember I was very upset still at that time. Yeah, and then when I lost Sumaya later on, I was even more upset because it was like at that time, my initial reaction, I was angry. Why is the second sister taken away from me as well at that time? Oh, yeah. So
over the years, as the years have passed, were you able to cope with it differently and understand maybe why that had happened?
yeah, I guess I understand why it happened.
Do you feel that because of your understanding of it, that it's shaped you to become who you are?
Yeah, it shaped. I mean, there was times before when I used to think that all my cousins have all got sisters and brothers, and I'm the only one who hasn't.
Yeah.
So it used to be like that, but now it's okay. I guess it makes me special.
I'm glad that you look at it in that way. You mentioned you had written an article and you plan to eventually publish a book about your life, correct?
Yeah.
In that article, I was honored to read it. Thank you for sharing it with me. In that article, you said that you did have anxiety every now and then. Do you feel that maybe experiencing such a serious loss and so many losses at such a young age, maybe that was what sparked your anxiety?
Yes, it is that, I think, as well. But also, many people have anxiety, just like that. I think it's also a part of me. I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's many other things. It's also other things started to happen after I lost Sumaya as well. Like, yeah, in terms of my health. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a bit more about that?
Like I started to get double vision.
So, what for someone who doesn't know what double vision is, can you explain what it is?
It's when you see two of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting surgery to remove it? How did you take care of that?
Yes, I had one surgery to remove it, and alhamdulillah, it went good.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and so now I don't have the double vision like I used to. I only get double vision if I'm very, very tense.
Okay.
So it's not gone completely, but it only comes if I'm extremely worried.
So when you're extremely worried, extremely tense, and when you're kind of experiencing a huge wave of anxiety, would you say?
Yeah.
A lot of people, unfortunately, think that mental health generally is not as important as physical health, for example. So for someone who doesn't have anxiety and has never experienced what it is like to have anxiety, how would you describe that to them?
I think it's something which you can control. Yeah, eventually we have to try and change the way that we have to think. Right? Yeah, I try and change my thinking to positive by saying I can do this, I can do that.
Going in with that mentality of yes, you can do it. How was it like when, you were in school, you were taking your GCSEs, and your teacher told you that you weren't allowed to take them because they didn't want someone to score, like have a very low score. So how did that affect you, and how did you overcome that?
See, what happened is when I was very young, I was a very confident person. And when I grew up, I was in the school, which was it was very nice and friendly school, but I didn't have friends. Socializing is something I had a lot of trouble doing. So this is why I changed to a different school. In the new private school that I went to, they were not nice there. They didn't want to have people who didn't do good in their grades. I was very good at art and maths as well, but still they didn't want to let me do the maths or any GCSEs for them. Sumaya's health made my maths go a bit down. Yeah, because I was in year 9 when she passed away.
Yeah.
And then what happened is I remember when I was told by them that, we can't let you do the higher grade anymore. And I was crying.
Yeah.
And I was very upset. But somehow we managed to persuade them to let me do my higher GCSEs. And I got a good enough grade for it.
How did you manage to persuade them? Because they seemed to be very stubborn and not letting you be able to take them.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was my parents also were the ones who persuaded them, and the fact that I was crying in front of them.
Yeah.
I think I proved them in a way.
At least you were able to take them eventually and score and eventually get into college. Speaking about college, in your article, you had mentioned that you kept switching from different colleges. Why did you do that?
I only went to 2 colleges. The first college was one where I did a NVQ of cake baking and confectionery. And I did that because it was more of practical course rather than so much written. Yeah, and there it was good. I didn't have much confidence in me there at all. I remember I used to shake to ask the teacher any question. Yeah. So luckily there was one older student in the class. She was a much more mature student. So whenever I wanted to ask something, I would ask her instead of the teacher because I was too scared to ask. Yeah. But yeah, because I enjoyed being creative. So and I always knew that I would want to do something creative in my life. Yeah.
So what was the second college that you ended up transferring to?
After that, there was a special needs college, Queen Alexandra College. It was for people with visual impairment and special needs. Yeah, and I went there, and there I did my equivalent of A-levels, equivalent of GCSE and A-levels via the BTEC National in Art and Design. Yeah, and BTEC First Diploma in Art and Design over there. That place, the friendliness of it changed everything for me. Yeah. When I started there again, there was around only 12 people in my class in art, because very small classes over there due to the special students there and the treatment, like 1 to 4 tutoring.
Yeah.
So over there, we got special treatment and special friendliness over there. I found, in the environment. So then from there, their friendliness made it such that I got all my confidence back that I lost. So when I started, I would shake in front of the whole class, just putting my hand up in front of 12 people.
Right.
By the time I left, I could speak in front of a massive crowd.
Wow. What made you gain that confidence? Because you had mentioned that you didn't have that confidence earlier. So what kind of sparked that confidence?
I think it was the friendliness of the people, because also when I was very young, like in my childhood days, I was a very confident person then as well. But over the years, I had lost that confidence. So
what made you lose that confidence?
I think maybe the lack of friends and the unfriendly environment that I just became I isolated a lot.
So when you finished college and you had to switch a couple colleges before you found the right one, and when you finished your A-levels and your college, how did you manage to decide what you wanted to study in university?
Well, my dad had given me a CD. Actually, one of his cousins had made him try out the CD. It was a software of Microsoft Flash. And he had given it to me to try out. At first I refused, but then I tried it out and I enjoyed using it. So I taught myself the software. So I experimented with it and I liked it. And then I thought, okay, this animation thing, I like it. So let me see if I can apply to different universities with that. And so I applied. And what's strange is I remember thinking so many times that all my cousins are going to university before me, and I was really annoyed, like, why am I going late and everything? But then Allah is the best of planners. It turned out that had I gone to university any earlier, the course that I did end up doing, which is a degree in animation in Birmingham, would not have existed. So I got myself an unconditional offer in Birmingham University. And alhamdulillah, I did 3 years of the degree over there. And strange enough, a few years in 2014, they stopped doing that course. So it was like planned out for me.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, Allah is truly the best of planners. You mentioned in your article that when you were studying this at university, your first year teacher wasn't very supportive. Can you just explain and touch upon that a bit?
Yeah, I found he wasn't very encouraging because there were many times when I would feel that am I doing this right, and he wasn't very convincing me enough that I'm doing okay. And then there came a time, I remember, when I wrote down a few questions on a piece of paper and gave it to him to answer. I wanted to see, am I on the right course? One of the questions was, do you think I'm on the right course? And he answered, I've thought about this a lot. I don't think you're on the right one. Indirectly telling me, a bit discouraging, but I didn't.
Yeah. So what made you, when someone discourages you, that's not something that anyone wants to hear. So what made you so adamant to continue and follow up and finish and graduate from university, even after receiving such negative comments from your teacher?
Well, the fact is that if I didn't continue, then all my efforts of the previous years would have gone to waste.
That's true.
Yeah, and he just was another person I needed to prove wrong, because I had proved my school wrong, and I just took it as another challenge to prove him wrong. But every single week I would say that I want to quit the course every single week, but I never did. Even till 1 week before I graduated, I would say, I want to quit, but I didn't.
That's good. To have that determination to actually finish something and actually finishing it is amazing and very hard to find. Not only did you finish your first degree, but you also went back to do another degree. Why did you decide to study another degree?
I surprised myself by doing it, because I remember I called my university years, the first degree, university as the 3 years of terror. It's what I called it because of my experience there. They were not good years, I found, even though I did complete it. Yeah. So what happened was my mom kept telling me, Fatima, you're going to miss the university when you, and I didn't believe her. But then afterwards, I did start missing it. Yeah. And so I looked up doing a master's, but it was too hard to do that. I didn't want to get myself into it. So I just found another course. So I applied on a few other courses and ended up doing this video and film production degree in Wolverhampton. That was not my first choice, but I still went ahead and did it, but only thinking in mind that I would do it for 1 month. So I did that. I've been keen on doing video editing for a long time, though, as well. That was also something I liked.
Why did you decide to study video production? Why didn't you choose something else? So what kind of persuaded you into that field?
I think because when you do videos, if you're doing animation, you can also mix it with videos together to make nice content. So this is also another thing. And plus I liked doing videos as well. It's something that I've done for long.
When you were studying video production, you had mentioned in your article that one of your assignments was to make a documentary. And in that documentary, you chose to make it about your grandfather's brother. What was your relationship with him like, and how was that project for you?
Oh, my relationship with him was very good. He was an example to look at, because he had actually gone through a lot in his life. He had one arm, and he had lost his arm in an accident with the train. He had actually been pulled by the train for a long distance. He was working in the train station. So I did his documentary, and just looking at him, it was also another thing that inspired me, because look, if a person who is without one arm can do so much, then why can't I go ahead, right? He was doing yoga, he was driving a car, he would go out walking, he would help in the community a lot in Birmingham, despite having one arm. Yeah, and that too, when he lost it much later on in his life. So just looking at his story also made me continue more.
Yeah. So did you ever end up finishing that documentary?
Yes, I finished the documentary. However, I do remember also thinking that I'm never making a documentary again.
Yeah. And unfortunately, after you had finished the documentary, your grandfather's brother had passed away. How was that? How did you take that news, especially after working with him for so long because of this documentary?
So, yeah, it was very sad news for me, because he was very close to me, and I think it's something that it was very hard for me to deal with. I was very, very, very close to him. And the fact that he was the second person very close to me who had died of cancer, it was not nice.
And after that, unfortunately, also your grandmother had passed away. So, throughout your life, you've been experiencing loss on many different levels. Your sister, your relatives, your grandmother. If you sum this all up in one, what experience or what lesson through these experiences would you say is the most important one that you've learned?
I think the most important lesson that I've learned from the life is that while many times we think, why is this happening, and it's so, and we don't like it, we don't realize everything happens for a reason, and it's all for the best in the end. So the most important lesson of my life that I've learned that is everything happens for a reason, and indeed Allah is the true plan is.
So for someone who's experienced as many losses as you have, what advice would you give them to stay determined and stay adamant to achieve their goals?
I would advise you that you keep on going ahead, and you don't give up. In the end, your efforts will not go to waste. Many times you think that, I don't know if I can do this, but eventually, if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
You did go to a special needs college and university, correct? For someone who is special needs and, you've graduated with 2 degrees, that's amazing, mashallah, and it should be applauded and rewarded, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you always. Do you feel that within the Muslim community, people do not treat people with special needs properly, or that they look down upon them or don't cater for them enough?
Maybe. I think I have often isolated myself from people at the mosque because I find it hard to gel in with the people as well. So this is something that I feel maybe we need to try and work on.
You had mentioned also in your article, beautifully written article by the way, you had mentioned in your article that you were diagnosed with autism, mild autism, very early on in your life. Do you feel that, how has that affected you?
This is also part of the reason why I find it hard to socialize. Yeah, and it's also this is also because I also have something called Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism, mild.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard for me to socialize with people. Many times when there are big gatherings, I don't like it. Yeah, people usually go to marriage ceremonies, and I don't like going there only because there's so many people, and I feel too much overwhelmed. And
too overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You feel a bit anxious.
Yeah.
Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. You've done such an amazing job. Thank you, dear viewers, for tuning in to TN Talk. Tune in next week for our next episode. I'm your host, Abir Safa. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.